Welcome back to Lamb's Cryptoverse. Today I want to talk to you about where I got it wrong, where my predictions were wrong. And the biggest mistake I made, and remember, we're all taking this journey together and we all can learn from each other. And the biggest mistake I made was timing. I expected long-term rates to be lower by this time, by September, and that had not happened. I made a framework, which I didn't publish yet, but I made a framework back in January that talked about equities declining and Bitcoin declining. I was right about that. And I expected the yield curve to invert, and I was right about that too. But what I was incorrect about is this inversion has been slower than I expected, and I expected the Fed's constant raising of rates to break everything, including the economy. And with that, we would have seen lower long-term rates, and we haven't seen that yet. So I'm going to show you some charts here in tables. The first one is the yield curve, and this is a tabular version right now, and you can see that the 30-year bond, for example, I highlighted in yellow, you can see that it's declined. I mean, it rose. It went from 3.1 to 3.489 from between July 14th and September 6th. And I'm going to show you, and you can also see the 10-year note rose from 2,957 to 3,341. I think it's better for some people to look at a chart. It's easier to understand. So here's a chart. You can see here the 30-year bond went from 3.11, as I said, to 3,489. And the 2-year note went from 3,107 to 3,509. So you can see two things from that. Number one, the rates have increased. And so they did not decrease or fall as I expected. And two, you can see that the spread hasn't changed that much. And if you want to see that in numbers, you can see it here. I put out a formula here. You can see that between the two time periods of July and September, the 10-2 spread went from 15 basis points to 17. It's basically been flat. So the spread actually worsened in August, but then it went back to what it was before. So what is that saying? It's saying that the economy is stronger than expected. And this got hit, was realized when the Fed gave its Jackson Hole speech, that infamous Jackson Hole speech. As soon as Jerome Powell spoke, rates started rising again. To me, he just reiterated what everyone knew, but for some reason, when he repeated that speech in August at Jackson Hole, investors were like, oh my God, this guy means it. He's really going to raise rates. And let me show you some economic factors that are supporting higher rates. Number one, you can see here, let's go back to this here, the PMI manufacturing index was flat in August from 52.8 in July to 52.8 in August. So it's been basically the same. And that's unbelievable. I expected this index to tumble to the high 40s, maybe even 45. It has not done that yet. And today, you can see the services index, which is a similar index, but it's for services. It was a pretty high. It actually is higher than expected at 56.7. Here's a table. You can see in June it was 55.3, and then it rose to 56.7. That's a fairly high number. And again, it's higher than expected. So today I just want to reiterate a mistake I made. I thought that interest rates were going to fall, especially in terms of long-term rates. I thought they was going to start declining. Even if they did not start declining, I thought there would be more of an inversion of interest rates, where the 2-year rate would be much higher than the 30-year rate. We're not seeing that yet. And again, this realization came during the Fed's Jerome Powell's Jackson Hole speech. I don't know why, but investors started realizing that he's going to continue raising the Fed funds rate. And because of that, rates rose across the whole curve. So again, we're all learning together. And I apologize for my mistake. I thought that rates would be lower by this time. But let's see what happens. I think by October, November, you're going to see lower rates as the Fed finally breaks the economy. Well, thank you all for listening to Lamb's Cryptoverse. Please like us and subscribe to us. And put in the comments if you'd like to hear me analyze some crypto projects.